Okay, good afternoon. I'd like to call the meeting, the Finance Audit, Tendering and Administration Committee meeting Wednesday, October 4th, 3:30. Order of business, call to order. And here we go. Number 2, declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest? All right. Approval of agenda.
Looks good.
So moved. Moved by Councillor Drong, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Okay. Business arising from the minutes.
You approve the minutes.
Pardon me?
Are you going forward first?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yes. Adoption of minutes, September 6, 2023. So moved, seconded by Mayor Brown. Business from minutes.
I do, so, Mr. Chair. Just under number 4, a notice of motion look for funding for 6 additional police officers. Did we vet that through the finance and administration to ask police or look at our own budget if that is a possibility? Could I ask through you to the manager? Or do you have an answer?
I'll defer that to Manager Betty. You clear on the question, Betty?
Item 4, page 2.
I do not have any additional information on that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any additional information on that at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if we could I ask if we could forward that on to police services and ask if they could search through their budget? Thank you, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Councillor Drown?
Yeah, and you know, I think it's very important that we do this. It just, you know, it was late today dealing with issues in my area. You know, it's constantly people calling me about people selling drugs out of different houses in my ward. Today, my son actually called because there was 2 people in the playground where the kids were passed out. So I guess the police were busy, and they came a little later and identified them. So then I called myself, and they were going to send another officer up to move them along. And I asked the question, I said, well, will they be charged? Because the young lady was passed out on the ground. So, you know, if we're dealing with this in every ward, we need more police officers, and we need the ability to charge these people. Like if I myself was drunk in a playground, they would arrest me. But in a situation like this, they move them along, but I don't know where they're moving them along to. So if we need more resources to get our city under control, then we either got to find it one way or another. You know, and like I said, the mayor started this last month, and we have to move on this very quickly because the officers are being sought out with different municipalities. So we have to get our game together and get going on this. And I appreciate you, Chair, to move this on as quickly as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drong, and duly noted, and we'll be diligent in that follow-up. And anyway, a year goes by pretty quick. We're rolling into budget, budget time, and that will be, I'm sure, top of mind for police. Councillor McCabe.
I'm just making sure, because I'm all about finding the resources as well, but has this even been vetted through the Protective Services Committee yet? Has this been discussed at that level that would then come to finance? Like really, here we are talking about finding money, but I would think that it would have to come through Protective Services, and I'm just wondering, I don't sit on that
I did bring
committee.
it up at the Standing Committee for Protected Emergency Services, so I'm just repeating it through the Chair of Finance, if we can find out what is going on. And I don't think, I agree with Councillor Drunt, we can't wait till March 30th or March 31st of 2024. We have to do it, like, find it now. If that's, am I reading that correctly, Councillor Drunt?
Definitely. You know, when I drive down here for the meeting, you know, the Ken's Corner is just out of control. And it's coming up to my ward, it's coming to my neighborhood, it's just exploding in this city. So we have to do something. This is an emergency, right? So I certainly agree with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just as chair on business arising from the minutes, I'd like to circle back to reference in the minutes, item 7, terms of agreement with Kerry. Since our last meeting,
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just a point of order. I'm not sure the minutes were approved yet, so you have to do that before you move on to your business arising from your minutes. And I think there was a friendly amendment to the minutes that the finance manager was going to recommend.
okay, so, pardon me, then, so, motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
And seconded by Councillor Drong, moved by Mayor Brown.
Yep.
Betty?
Well, what I wanted to bring up is, this is something that Sue brought to our attention. The minutes under number 7, it says that the Finance Committee decided not to rescind the Seniors Active Living Center resolution from August, but we shouldn't be I don't think we should be stating in the minutes, as all committees are recommending bodies. So maybe we should reword that to be recommended against rescinding the August resolution, because the committee doesn't have the authority to make that decision on their own. So I recommend that we make that revision to the minutes.
Just to get a clarification.
Councillor Drong?
So I can't understand that. What had happened is we passed something in, July? It went to the council. We gave the resolution 10-0. So then it came back to finance, and we decided not to move it along to council. Any change in the request. So what are you asking? Like, what are we not rescinding? Decided to not rescind the August resolution?
It came back after, if I could jump in for my clarification on that, I think when we first discussed this and moved it to council for approval, there was then some follow-up discussion that was brought to our attention around reconsideration for a couple things, because it was felt that we didn't really negotiate with our board. We had a little bit of discussion at that time at our last meeting, and I think what they're saying now is we shut it down at our committee level, where we said we were not going to rescind, but what I'm hearing is that's not within our authority to decide whether we rescind or we don't rescind. That information should have gone on to council for discussion to decide whether or not we rescind or not rescind.
The resolution was passed by council, and we don't have the power to rescind it, so it's mute. The point is mute. This is being brought up as business arising from the minutes, whether the minutes reflected that we denied the rescinding it or did not agree to rescind it. That's mute, because it didn't happen. You don't have to move a resolution up to council if the resolution was already passed. It was passed 10-0. That's it. That's
With new information, though, if there felt to be new
The only
information?
new information was that there was a conversation, I think. That new information manifested itself through the chair, and we discussed it, and we're moving on. So I can't see, I don't think we broke any, or we didn't abide by the procedure that's required under the bylaw. It's, the resolution was passed. We didn't have the authority to rescind it. Correct? That's it. So, therefore, the resolution that was passed by council in July for the 20-year agreement stands as is, correct? It doesn't?
I think the confusion, Mr. Chair, through to members of the committee, it's the sentence that says, "The Finance Audit Tendering and Administration Committee decided to not rescind the August resolution." The administration's point is committees don't get to decide anything, it's that word. So the friendly amendment that's being recommended doesn't really change the nature of your conversation. All it says is that your committee determined to not recommend rescinding any resolution, and then you just leave it at that. Nothing happens
That's
after
it.
that.
It doesn't go back to council. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that word decided
Yeah.
is the problematic word, because standing committees don't decide things. They recommend for and against things.
And again, a point I wanted to share is since that last meeting, I did have a conversation with Sean Murphy, chair of the Carey board, and his point to me was that as chairman of the board, they are not in favor. They weren't in favor of a 20-year term. They were in favor of a 5-year term with a 5-year renewable option with a $15K per year cost, and that's it. No common charges, just $15K per year for 5 years with a 5-year renewable option. That's what he was putting forth. On behalf of the board, and his recommendation of what he wanted to go with. So that's where that puts us.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chair, this is just a repeat from the last meeting. It was asked to rescind the resolution. We don't have the authority to do it. The resolution's been passed. Like, I don't know why we keep going back to this issue. I think it's time for us to move on, and I'm glad that Professor Ron Collins is here, because he represents the Seniors Active Living Center, and they have a resolution that they heard was passed in July, 20 years, and they're moving on. They have to be looking at getting their registration, their numbers back up to pre-COVID-19, which was 300, and that's what their focus is.
Well, Mayor Brown, and I guess how the lens I was looking at this through was there's a board. We appoint 4 of 8 members, one of which is the chair, and as chair of the board, he's coming back, and I guess there was the 20-year thing or whatever that was passed. Perhaps I maybe wasn't clear in my own mind that I still maybe thought there was perhaps some negotiation or back and forth with them on this, and that's, as I said, shared in the conversation I had with him. He was fine with $15K a year for 5 years with another renewable option for 5 years. So I'm out of my lane in terms of, I guess, being clear on the mechanics of that. Can that be walked back or rescinded? To me, as chair of finance, I'm be supportive of the board and the chairman. They've got a mandate to run that facility and make those suggestions. And I guess I support him in that. In that regard. So I don't know where that leaves us with this.
I guess I'll start, Chair McAleer. We had a great discussion back in July. We approved what this committee thought was proper. We put it up to council. Council voted unanimously. That was the resolution. The term was agreed upon by our committee, agreed by council. We passed it unanimously. Then last month it came back. We said, no, it's been passed. Now we're back again with a different term, a different ask. Like, I don't know, this is the third month. We already said we passed it, we moved on. I don't think there's room for negotiations again at this. We were very adamant that this was the way that we wanted to go with council and for the seniors, so we would not get them into negotiations again. They wouldn't have to worry about it. You know, this agreement, it's going to be there in place long after I'm gone, and you may still be here, but, I think this is the right move, and I'm just, supporting the original resolution by council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drong. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, and I think for me, I was with you. To me, I've talked to Councillor McAleer. I'm big in favor of making sure that our seniors have a place to be. I guess I was focused on the fact that we were giving more money now directly to Kerry board versus to our seniors group. So, I was glad that we came to that. The 5-year with the option to renew, I guess, is that a hill for me that is big. When you speak, Councillor John talks about protecting them for a long-range term. I would hope that whoever's in any position would be looking at protecting our seniors. Again, they're probably one of our most important population groups in our community, who deserve a little bit of give back after everything they've provided. But Sue, maybe you could help clarify for everybody in here what is what, just so I'm clear, because I'm not very clear based on these conversations.
Sue, can you add anything more to?
I have very large opinions, so I'm going to try to keep my peace here right now. The bottom line is August resolution had terms and conditions in it that Kerry had not agreed to. That's why we're sitting here still talking about this 3 months later. Everyone, I think, is equally frustrated for different reasons. So we advanced a resolution that the Kerry board had not agreed to. They asked us to enter into an agreement in good faith with the Seniors Active Living Centre so that they would no longer have to pay rent going forward. That's what the conversation always was. But when we got to this table in Finance Committee added the 20-year term and added the amount with no discussions on common area charges. So to me, making decisions on the conditions of an agreement before you've negotiated that in good faith with a third party is not good faith. You asked me, and I'm telling you. So what I'm saying to you now is that this committee advanced terms and conditions, to Councillor Duran's point, that all of council agreed to, and now we're trying to backpedal because Kerry board hadn't agreed to all those terms and conditions. They're coming back and saying, we're okay with the 15, we're okay with having a term and then a renewable term, so we're okay with the 15 and we're okay with the 10. And then we can all just move on with our day. But we're sitting in council chambers dictating a contract that isn't our contract to dictate. The only thing we should be worried about is our budget and to make sure the Seniors Active Living Centre is looked after. And both of those things have been checked off. The Seniors Active Living Centre will live happily ever rent-free, and we have zero budget impact with the $15,000 that's already in our budget.
Thank you, Sue Fraser, for that. And where I'm stuck, I agree 100% with how you laid it out. I mean, and that's how we feel. I think the board, the chairman, they should be supported. They're appointed for a reason, and if we're going to dictate the terms of some of the deals in these lease arrangements, I think anyway, I think we're.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the issue I have.
Yeah. Would there not be a meeting with the chair of the board to negotiate, to say this is what's agreed? I agree. That makes sense to me when you say that. So I'm just wondering, how do we own that board? Like, do we dictate how it works, or are they an independent board? So again, if we've missed a step, we need to backtrack and do it properly. Hopefully, at the end of the day, we can negotiate and get our 20-year term if that's what's important to majority of council. But I think if we haven't communicated that or haven't followed the right process, then that's concerning.
I mean, is there, and I'm talking out loud here, is there not a way, if we walked it back, went with Chairman Sean's advice, 5 years, 5-year renewable option, and then during the time going forward, that a longer-term arrangement? I know there's a big question in the background history of this. Was this supposed to be a relationship or a cost that was in perpetuity or indefinite for the SALC, that they, have rent-free for indefinitely, and that should be probably somewhere in time going forward get resolved. So there's not this sort of circumstance that we're dealing with here now. Anyway, that's just my comment.
Where do we stand with that, though? I mean, if they say we didn't follow the process, did we follow process or did we not follow process?
The process is,
No.
we passed.
Yeah,
we
no, but
passed-
I know we did.
Okay,
But did we
you
follow the
speak,
right?
you speak.
Because I wasn't finished and I was going through the chair. But thank you. Did we follow the process? Did we follow the proper process when negotiating a contract with someone that we don't oversee? That's the simple yes or no question. Did we follow the process?
On the spot here, I can't give you the right answer to that.
Could the CAO or
CAO.
director provide us with the information?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is a very confusing scenario. So I think ultimately, their initial resolution that was made should have never been made, simply because this is an arm's length organization with their own board and decide on their own lease agreements and all that kind of information. So we kind of did a cart before the horse kind of thing. So if you were to follow a proper process in this, the arm's length organization would come up with the lease or the agreement or the amount of money that they're looking from us, come to us, and then we would bring that contract through, and that's when council would have the opportunity to dig into the terms and say, we want to do this, we want to do that. So it just kind of unfolded in a very messy way, not intentionally by anyone. It's just kind of how the situation unfolded. We tried to resolve it with the last meeting here where there was a recommendation to rescind that motion because we had no place making that motion in the first place. We haven't done that, but really from here, if you're not going to rescind, the next step from here is we await Carrie to come up with the lease agreement and whatever they're looking for from the city, and then we'll bring that agreement forward for council's review and approval ultimately.
So, Mr. Chair, as I said, Mr. Collins is here. They did send a lease to.
May I, Mr. Chair? I just had a clarification from Sue. So even mine, trying to keep up with this one. So for the agreement that's coming out of Cary now is not even coming back to the city because it's an agreement with the senior center. So that's right. So it's a direct agreement with them. Where we get involved is the grant funding,
That's right,
right?
yeah.
And that's getting paid directly to Cary.
So,
So the agreements with the user, senior center, and then under a separate process, our granting process and our granting policy, money is being sent directly to Cary, and it's earmarked for the senior center.
so, Mr. Chair, if I can just put my 2 bits in here again, I reference or recognize Professor Ron Collins with the Seniors Active Living Center. They've already sent the contract. The general manager's already sent agreement to the Seniors Active Living Center for 5 years. They ignored our resolution. They ignored. Carey is managed, the general manager is Alan Wood. Alan Wood sent the contract to the Seniors Active Living Center after we had sent the resolution to them that was passed unanimously by council, 20 years, with a 5-year agreement, renewable at 5. So they didn't listen to our decision that was made in July. And the other point here, Mr. Chair, I keep bringing up the budget. We own 87% of that facility, okay? We have 4 members on that. Those 4 members are appointed by the city of Charlottetown. They're not delegates to that board, they're representatives. That's what they are. And we've told our representatives at the annual meeting that was attended by, I'd say, 10-plus seniors, where they made it quite clear, we are seniors. Okay? We've given our best, we've given our work, we've raised families in this community, and we have given everything that we've given. Now we want something back. And since 2002, we've given $15,000 a year to the Seniors Active Living Center to take care of common area cleanup or maintenance. And then here we are, 20 years later, still talking about this. The resolution that was passed 20 years is what council agreed to. I can't make it any clearer. And if they want to ignore that, if the board wants to ignore that, and I know the seniors will know that we said unanimously that 20-year contract. It gives them some security. As I said, Ron has told me, and so have the seniors, they're more concerned about getting new members or their members back. And one of the presentations they had there was presented by the CMHA, Canadian Mental Health Association. Key areas of focus: agreed physical activity, social connection. SALC is about social connection. What am I getting wrong about that? If we had allowed the board to go with what they originally wanted to do, it would be $35,000, $40,000 a year lease. And I have the numbers that are not in the revenue on revenue that's collected from the commercial tenants. Last year, they collected $166,877 with varying numbers for rent. Like, guys, we own 87% of that facility. And do you think UPEI would disagree with us about telling our seniors, pay $35,000 a year? I don't think they'd disagree with us. They would say, look, seniors come first.
There's no money discussion. They're in agreement to the 15,000.
We're
we're giving them
$1 million.
What I
$1
understand.
million last year.
But it was when we revisited and looked at it again with the way things changed, that was negotiated. From what I understand, it wasn't the money. Am I clear in that?
Who wants to move the resolution to rescind it? I'm not moving it.
I think we need to. I'm not interested necessarily changing what we've agreed to, Your Worship, but I am more concerned if we didn't do it the right way. We've learned, we went through a process of when we don't follow the right process, we get ourselves in trouble. So I would prefer to do it the right way. So if we didn't negotiate with a third party, not to say that we'd have to change what we're willing to do. Or
20
how we
years? They
protect.
want the 20 years to change.
No, but we decided that here.
Yeah.
We were telling them that this is how it's going to be with no discussion.
Well, Ron will tell you, they wanted it in perpetuity. We said no to in perpetuity.
But we haven't, who's negotiated with who's Kerry board report to? What committee does the Kerry board report to?
That appointment would fall under Parks, Recreational Leisure.
Okay, so is there, who does it report to?
Mr. Chair, do you want me to address that?
Go ahead, Sue.
Both the Kerry Board and the Eastlink Center Board report to Finance.
Okay.
There was a time when those groups reported through Parks and Recreation, but in recent times, they've reported directly to Finance. And just as a point of clarification on the 35 versus the 15 versus the 20 versus the 5, we're talking about process here. We're not talking about the semantics of terms and conditions of any agreement. We're talking about the fact that the city council approved a resolution on terms and conditions that had not yet negotiated with a third party. That's process. It's not about the logistics of how we move forward. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is not a conversation about the value of the Seniors Active Living Centre, the value of senior citizens, making sure that they're having valuable activities in our community. That's not what this conversation is about. The conversation is about a tenant-lease relationship.
Again, I go back, Mr. Chair, I go back to when we built the facility, the money that was designated by this city back in 2002, $600,000, built that facility on our own money. We can talk about the semantics, but we're talking about people. And as a elected political figure, when I talk about who elected any one of us, that's who we represent. And I represent the seniors that have stated very clearly 20 years is fine. So we've passed the resolution. If there's something wrong with it, then let the board deal with it out at Kerry. I'm not moving anything. I want to move on. We spent, this is our third time at this, Mr. Chair, and I think it's time to move on.
Your worship, I agree with you that this needs to move on, but I don't know how we can say if we're being told that we didn't follow the proper process. We went through a whole year with BMO learning what processes we don't follow and follow. I'm just saying that can there not be a negotiation and a discussion and done the right way? I'm not saying we're going to change where we stand, that we want 20 years and we want this and that, but if you haven't negotiated that, and who does the negotiations for that? Do they come and work with the finance committee? Do they work with our CAO and come up with how does that work? I'm just wondering, because if we didn't follow the process, we didn't follow the process.
Well,
Councillor Drunk?
thank you, Chair McAleer. The process was they gave us a contract. We didn't agree to it. You know, we looked at it. They didn't come in and negotiate with us. I think they sent it through Sue, and we looked at it. We came up with what we wanted. Like the mayor said, we own 87% of it. We looked at it and we chose to look after the seniors for 20 years. That was what we decided. We moved it up to council. We passed the resolution. The next month they come back. They said, "Well, we don't agree with that. We're going to go with less money now." So coming back each time for negotiations, you know, when you talk about process, that was when they came in, they sent the letter or the contract. We looked at it. We looked at it very immensely, and we decided this is what we want. That's when it was put up to council. That's when it was 10-0. This is not a wrong process. We didn't do things wrong. We do this all the time. But now it comes back, well, okay, we don't want the 40, we don't want the extra 7.5, now we don't want this, and okay, finally, we'll accept that. But that wasn't what we weren't in negotiations. We looked at the contract as all contracts, we determined it, moved it up, passed it. Now someone is not exactly happy with all the terms. Well, you know, I'm sorry, we can't make everybody happy. We chose this. You know, that's the end of the day. The council decided, we moved on. So I don't know why we just keep going back over it again. And if it comes to here, again, I think we have two people to support it, to move on. And you know, we don't have that. We don't, if it's voted 2-1, so be it.
Okay, so then we own this board then, is what I'm understanding, because when we gave direction that this is how it was going to be, and then they still went and wrote a letter saying 5 years to the seniors, which was against what we said as council, what do we do with that? How do we resolve that problem? Because if we've given direction for 20 years, which I'm good with, for 15,000, what do you do in that situation when they've gone over against what we've done? What happens there? We just say nothing?
CAO Elmer?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So for clarification, there's an agreement for Kerry. You do not own that board. That board is its own governance structure with its own governance body that signs its own agreements and leases. So when you passed a resolution and said, the board's going to do this, you might as well have been just speaking into the wind, because you have no control in directing what that board does and what it puts into its agreements. Where your responsibility begins is if there's an agreement being signed with this council, or how much money you provide in a grant. In this case, from what's just been explained here today, the agreement between Kerry is going to be with the senior center, not with the city of Charlottetown. Because of that, we don't get to dictate any terms of what's in that lease agreement. That lease agreement is between Kerry and between the seniors living center. Where you do have impact and ability in this situation, it comes to the grant and how much money is provided in that grant and how long you provide that grant for. So the way that this is being done, as far as I understand, is the money being provided for the grant is the money that will pay for the lease between Kerry and the Seniors Living Center. And that's how they come to zero in terms of being rent-free.
Well, could I just ask a question?
Councillor Drong.
Thank you, Councillor McAleer. Did we not say we were going to be in negotiation with the Kerry Board now and take the Senior Active Living Centre out of it, so they wouldn't have to deal with any
Smart.
stress, strain, coming back? We thought, well, I was led to believe that we're in negotiation with the Kerry Board, not the Seniors Active Living, so they wouldn't even have to think about it for the next 20 years.
Ron, I think, has some background. But you have to use a mic, Ron. You have to sit next Bob. Councillor Ron.
That's correct. We were told we were taken out of the negotiation, that the city was negotiating directly with Kerry Board on our behalf. A while ago, what has happened, I entirely agree, by the way, I was a professor of business and my undergraduate is accounting. So I do agree that it's a very good mandate that the Kerry has to operate in a business manner. The problem is, what they trying to do with maximizing their revenue to decrease their deficit, I applaud that. But what had happened is, we'd always been not on their sheets as revenue. And all of a sudden, we get placed in as a commercial operation. The first contract I received, and I didn't bring it with me, they wanted $45,000 in rent and another $7,000 in common area fees. Well, that was treating us as a commercial tenant. Over a period of time, they did recognize that we were a nonprofit. The organization was established over 20 years ago, and at the time, there was never a suggestion of contracts. No one ever thought, when we entered into a 20-year agreement, which was 4 or 5-year agreements at renewable 3 times at $1 a year, that there was any negotiation that this was going to be going on in perpetuity. I will state that the last year and a half, I have spent more time, and I have presented to the parks, I have presented to council. I came to a meeting where we had representatives of Kerry, the city at that time. Can't remember the gentleman who was the finance committee. He didn't chairman of the finance. He didn't rerun. But anyway, the point was that if we look at the total situation, if the Kerry Board acts and takes and charges us a rent, it will lower their deficit. But where do we get the money? We get the money from the city. So what will happen is they'll come to us, we give it to them. Well, that amounts to me is what I was doing when I was first out of undergraduate school. I was a U.S. Treasury agent in banking, and we were looking for people that laundered money, and I'd have to arrest myself because I would feel I'd be taking money and passing it on. The end result is that the city is going to pay the same thing. Now, the resolution that was passed was great relief for the members of the SALC Board of Directors. We had a sigh of relief. The contract that I received, and from Alan Wood, who is the GM now, is in compliance with the resolution, except it is 5 years plus 1 renewal, not 5 years plus 3 renewals. The only thing I'd say is we were at 300 members before the pandemic, and we went down to just a little over 150. We're over 200, we're about 210 today. And with our birthday celebration, we've had a number of people come and want to join, but we wouldn't take their membership fee until October 1st because you get the last 2 months free in the next year. So we'll be seeing our membership increase. But the lease committee consists of the president, the past president, and the vice president. And we'd like to turn our attention to going to fundraising and membership growth because we've been spending a disproportionate amount of our time trying to find out where we are. We're very, very, very happy with the lease that was sent, but not with the term. 5 plus 5, we would like to see in perpetuity, which was what was done when it was originally developed. It was there for the seniors, not the seniors of 20 years ago or 10 years ago or today, but the seniors that are coming down the road, and we hope to have the place there and we can continue. Today, for instance, there are 40 people playing cards. There are 12 people playing Scrabble. We're now getting back to higher numbers, but they're not where they were. We have people that are frightened because of COVID, or where they have people with morbidity at home, so they don't want to run risks. But anyways, all I want to say is I can go through the history about how that extension was added after the original building design. It was established, designed, and paid for by the city for seniors. I guess I have to rest my case. I feel that we would like to spend more time devoted to serving the seniors and getting the seniors there. Thank you.
So we're on, so 20 years, 20 years is what SALC is hoping for?
What we were hoping for in perpetuity, which was.
I know that,
but
I realize
the idea
that.
is, I don't know how, when it was originally designed, that it came up with a 5-year contract renewable 3 times. When the resolution in July went through, which was an extension of that, we were just ecstatic. Then we received in the mail from Alan Wood, and we have a good relationship with Alan, that's not the point. But we received the contract that was only half the duration. The rest of the terms are according to the resolution, just the length of time. But that would put us very much at ease in being able to get down to what we're doing, because you get the past president, the vice president spending time, and I mean spending a lot of time on this, and not being able to do the things that we were designed to do.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, I'm at a crossroads. I don't know where we go from here. Again, I guess, repeating myself. There's a board, there's a chairman with a board, they're appointed. If council or I guess council in general or yourself, Mayor, feel that that board's not representative of the vision of council and the SALC, well, maybe, maybe that's, your board got to look at maybe changing it then, in the future if it's not representative of, but to me, I just find it difficult personally to go against the, they're independent, it's a board, in this case, Sean Murphy's your chairman, that, they've come back, with this modification, and, but what I'm hearing at the committee level here is basically, not to put words in your mouths, but I'm thinking, and Ron, that to keep it as is. Thank
The
you.
only thing I wanted to add was the fact that we did not participate in the negotiation. When we were told that the city was going to negotiate on our behalf, we did not have any input. We received the contract. I haven't gotten back to Alan. It came in over a week ago, but unfortunately, I was hospitalized last week and haven't gotten back yet.
Are you saying, Ron, you weren't clear or had knowledge that the city was negotiating on your behalf?
No. We knew the city was negotiating on our behalf, and we knew the resolution passed in July was 20 years. We were happy with that, but not ecstatic. In perpetuity would have been better, but the idea is that made us feel at ease. Then in the mail, we get, I should say, passed down, the 5 plus 5 rather than the 5 plus 3 FUBs. Thank you.
Thank you. Who negotiated for the city? That's my question.
We negotiated. 20 years. We passed a resolution at this board, at this level, sent it
Okay.
up to council. So our reaction to their offer, to their, what they offered, what they said was 5 years. We said no, and we said 20 years. And the
So-
decision was made.
So we're basically dictating how the board runs.
No, you just remember, they were knocked out of negotiating. We negotiated through this board, through this standing committee of finance. You were here, you chaired the meeting. It was 20 years. Went up to council 10-0.
But what if they don't sign what if they won't agree to the conditions on their 5-year letter, then what? I just want to make sure that they have a place to go, because they don't need the added stress of us not following process and doing things right. So I want to make sure that they're protected and they get what they need with as less stress as possible, because if they need anything, they need this ongoing social opportunity without stressing over stupid
Yep.
processes.
20 years. Okay,
CAO, Eleanor,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
how do we
So,
close
well,
the
I'll
loop
just
on this
say,
today?
Everything that was just discussed right here by the senior center needs to be discussed directly with the Kerry board. That is who the lease is between. We've expressed from council's position what they wish it would be, but we cannot direct the Kerry board. This negotiation is between the two parties that are party to this lease. The reason why the seniors is on the lease versus the city of Charlottetown is it gives the seniors flexibility when they want to sublet the facility and other different things that you get to do when you're a lessee, right? Versus if it's the city, the city's not going to be responsible for subletting that facility. We would be taking the agreement based only on the seniors' use and for nothing else. As a lessee, you have the ability to sublet and do whatever events that would normally be given to a lessee. That's why it's between these two different parties.
okay.
I heard funding was in there as well. I heard the term money laundering. This is definitely not money laundering, so let's be very clear about this. This is a grant.
Who said that?
Just now. This is a grant being given to an organization, and that organization can choose to spend that grant on rent or whatever social events that they have. They choose to do that with whatever grant money. If it's felt that there isn't enough grant money being allocated to this group, they can always come forward and ask for more money as they deem fit, as all organizations do across the city. So the way forward for Finance Committee and City Council is you've done what you've needed to do at this point.
That's right.
This is an agreement that's being negotiated between two other parties. And if any additional grant funding is needed, those proposals come through and get considered at budget time. Thank you.
Councillor
Mayor
McAleer,
Brown?
we passed a resolution in July. Council said unanimously, 20 years. As Councillor Duran said, I agree with him. We took over the negotiation. Now, we're not negotiating. SALC is negotiating on their own, but we made it quite clear, 20 years. And that's where it stands. And it's now, well, we're into 55 minutes on this issue. So this is our third bad at it.
I would like to say that the lease prohibits sublet. So,
Sorry, thank you through the chair. So that is for you to negotiate with Carrie in terms of what's in the lease. So whether it's subletting, there were previous confusing things around subletting as well. So that is something, when you go back to Carrie and you say you want more than 5 years, that's also something that you can express at that time. Thank you.
excuse me, are you suggesting we should enter into negotiations? But we were told we weren't negotiating, that the city was negotiating on our behalf.
We made a decision by the resolution we passed in July.
Yeah.
So-
You're good to go.
Yeah,
We
we-
communicated.
Who communicated to the
see-
Seniors Active Living Center that we were acting in
We
negotiations?
communicated that through the resolution.
I'm asking who went back to the Seniors Active Living Center and communicated that? That they didn't have
Mr.
to,
Murphy saw the meeting. All he has to do is go online and get the resolutions.
So,
No one,
Ron,
I didn't phone
did
him.
anyone
Did
communicate with
phone
you
him?
that we would be in negotiations on your behalf? Can you tell me who you spoke to communicate that? Just so I'm clear.
Seriously, I don't recall, no.
It's just because
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
confusing.
it just, see, we've, as I say, we have always thought it was going to be $1 a year for.
Forever, okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So what happened is, we get this lease agreement for 45 plus 7, and, you know, we're, our membership fee was 25, we raised it to 35. But there's no way. We had a surplus of over 100,000, and now we're down to 70. Because we've kept up our activities with lower activity fees because they have less participation.
No, listen, I'm in full support. I am 100% behind you. I'm just wanting to make sure that if someone was talking to you and it wasn't clear, because there's steps that have been missed from what I'm hearing, that's
Yeah,
all. We want to make
seriously.
sure it's done right.
Seriously, I don't recall. I got the impression anyways, what's happened, you know, we saw ourselves to be classified as in the same category as the for-profits, Subway, Andrews. How the heck we went from a non-profit to a profit, I don't know. And, anyway, that was just done. Then we received that contract. We didn't negotiate it. This one, in relationship to the resolution in July, we were expecting the contract to come through at 5 plus 3 more 5s. It's beautiful, except it's only 5 plus 5. And we have not negotiated with anyone.
Okay.
And excuse me, 1 second, I'm going to get on the laundering. What I meant by laundering was this. The bottom line to the city would be the same. Why? If Kerry charged us, say hypothetically, their deficit was $600,000, and they charged us $50,000, their deficit would drop to $550,000, and that's good. And they should be running themselves in a business-like manner for business-type organizations. Like Subway in Andrews, okay? Or others that they can attract. But from the city perspective, if they cover the deficit, plus they give us the money to give to Kerry, which lowers the deficit, the city is writing 2 checks instead of 1. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we have to, gonna have to close on this, CAO, Eleanor?
Thank you for clarity. So we did pull up the resolution. That's where the negotiation piece is included in there. Councillor McCabe saying that the city would negotiate.
There was no one that phoned Sean Murphy. I didn't. I know Bob didn't.
Oh, no, I just wanted
one
to make
phoned him.
sure.
It was in the resolution. The resolution is on our website. Anyone that's looking for it, and it's all live stream. So, Mr. Chair, we have another meeting. I have another meeting at 4:30.
Okay.
They're coming in here.
How do we do that?
Well, we thought it was an hour. We budgeted an hour, correct? We didn't know that one item would take.
Well, it's still a long agenda.
Okay.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, because of time, I think we have to have a meeting before the Tuesday regular monthly meeting, so we have to come back in another day. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that they're coming in here. They being the human resource. Their meeting has to be live streamed, so how it was booked, I didn't do the booking. I just came to the meeting. So what's your recommendation?
I can certainly make myself available if we can reschedule for the balance. Councillor Drung, does it work for you possibly? Short notice, can we do it tomorrow?
I can go anytime.
Mr. Chair, I would just propose that we just rebook a special meeting.
Right.
Adjourn for today, and then we can rebook a special meeting of this group.
Well, the meeting's Tuesday, right?
I'm asking if we can rebook tomorrow.
You need to be able to post everything.
It's 5 o'clock.
I'll look.
There's an affordable housing, advisory committee from 4 until 5 tomorrow. Yeah, we have, that's right. Can't have two public meetings at the same time. That's the challenge.
I have a commitment at 7 o'clock, so I can come at 5.
What about noon tomorrow? No, that doesn't work. Noon on Friday?
Noontime's really challenging for me, leaving a school. I just can't commit to time away from school, so I might be able to call in and I might not. It all depends on a day. I'm sorry.
Can we make tomorrow at 5 work?
Tomorrow, Councillor Drawn, is the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. They meet at 4.
Can they not meet downstairs like we did for our...
Well,
Mr. Chair, that I've just been advised that nothing on this agenda has to be through in time for regular council meeting next week. So we have a little bit of breathing space and we can schedule a special meeting, and then whatever's moving forward to council would just come through at the special council meeting instead of next week.
Is that, that'll work then for everybody?
Can I just ask one quick question before we adjourn, though?
Yes.
Because some of the tenders were out, and I know the Hillsborough Hall new elevator and stuff, I guess we can talk about that the next time, but we had those discussions at Public Works, and I'm just, it's on here and it closed, and I just thought that we were revamping that tender. So I was just a couple of them, but that's okay. I can ask the next question at the next meeting.
Again, thanks, Ron Collins, for attending and sharing your thoughts, your comments on the SALC. Motion to adjourn. Councilor Mayor Brown, seconded by Councilor. Thank you.